Hey, how's it going? Let me just get the link out real quick. Okay, cool. So, what should I listen to? Okay, just one sec, guys. Okay, cool. Let's get started. So, I'm gonna just continue on the posing for this guy this week. I did a little bit of like fixing on the pose. I still need uh, some adjustments that I need to make. Still feeling a little bit off balance, but for the most part, it's getting there. I kind of want to try bringing the arms down. I might bring this left arm down a little bit and kind of break the silhouette, like something over here, and maybe keep this one back. Unfortunately, the arms are probably going to be like the hardest area to adjust because there's a lot going on here, and um, it might be a little bit difficult to get like some nice rotation on it, but we'll see what we can get. And if anything, I'll probably like cock this arm forward so that that'll just kind of break that silhouette a little bit more. But that is the direction that we are headed. So let's get started with moving this foot forward. Ooh, okay, so that is not what that's supposed to look like. Did I not have okay. Transpose. There we go. That's what I'm supposed to have. Let's get rid of this. Oops. How was everyone's weekend? Hopefully you guys had a good weekend. Cool. So we're gonna try and like straighten this knee out a little bit because this seems like the one that we probably want a little bit more balance kind of on this front foot. So let's do this right here, lock it, and blur that out a tad. Then let's rotate just a little bit, kind of like that. Cool. Do the same thing down here. Okay, cool. Gotta lock that first. So the feet and the legs, I'm not too concerned about. I just kind of want to make sure that they like have a general like sense of being planted on the ground. One thing that I have a hard time with, like when posing characters this way, is that the feet kind of do what you just saw, where they're like cocked up off the ground. That's definitely something that I try to like be conscious of, just because I want, if I ever show the feet, I want them at least to like look like they're kind of like grounded, making contact. Feels a little bit more believable. So I'll just kind of fake that a little bit. Something like this. So it just starts to feel like there's actually like weight on these feet. Like this. Let's get this like thumb one down a little bit. Okay, cool. That'll probably work. I need to probably lower this one just a touch. Like that. That should be fine. I'll probably even have these kind of like penetrate through the ground just a little bit. I use Blender's Rigify mostly for posing. Yeah, I've never used that before. I tend to just do it in here mostly because of the fact that like I I'm not a rigger by any means, so I'm definitely not the best at it. I've done it once in the past, and aside from that, I really don't do it all that often. But I have wanted to kind of like find a solution for it because I do feel like um this is not the most optimal way of doing it, but you know, it works for what I need, and as long as I'm kind of like posing based on the camera and stuff, it's not too bad. Oops. Okay, let's just lift this up just a tad like that. And then we will lower this back foot some. Kind of like this. It's kind of a wonky foot. I'm not really a huge fan of like one, how the foot kind of ended up coming out, but also like xenomorph foots in general, they're kind of a little bit weird. Not the biggest fan of them. They're very dog dog looking, which you know whatever. It's kind of time consuming at first, but better control in general. Yeah, and that's the thing. I think that that's part of the reason why I have a tendency of leaning more towards doing uh, a character inside ZBrush is because I can like fake the results. I don't have to go too crazy, but you are kind of limited in terms of like the overall pose you can get. Like with this character, like I'm gonna end up having like a ton of broken stuff back here, or at least I can almost assume that I would. So I'm just kind of like gonna have to go back in and sort of fix the topology a little bit and just kind of correct some of that stuff. So that definitely kind of does make working in this a little bit harder. So if there was a really quick solution, I wouldn't be opposed to it. Have you tried doing the rig using Mixamo? It's a free application. I have not. I've seen people use it. I just don't really know. Like, all I ever see anyone do with it, and you know, this is just based off of like my ignorance of the program. Yeah, see, so we're already getting like stretching over here, so we're gonna have to be really careful with this. Um, what I have seen people use it for mainly is like I see people put their like rigs on it, and then that's like all that I see from it, and I see them doing like the weird dancing like temp stuff that's already inside of the program. But that's really all I ever see from it. So I don't know too much about it outside of that. Yeah, see, so okay, so we're probably not going to have much mobility in this shoulder, so because of that, we're probably going to go with the first solution, which this is one of those things, you know, you just got to kind of adjust based on what the model looks like. And that's what we're going to do, is we're just going to pose based on the limitations that we have. So that's fine. The legs, I think, gave us a good amount of like the work that I wanted out of the pose. And so these arms are just kind of like a little bit secondary to that. So this is kind of the angle that I was thinking. I probably need to adjust the head a little bit more, maybe cock it so that you can start to see some of like the tail off the edge somewhat. Also, actually, I forgot to mention, I opened this up a little bit earlier. So I did do a little bit of work this weekend on the textures. I do think for some reason right now, it's a little bit more like purple pink than I kind of want it to, but I definitely think it's kind of in a direction that I'm happy with overall. I spent some time kind of just like bashing on the color to get it to a point that I was happy with. I did some more revisions on the subsurface and stuff like that. So, um, yeah, overall, it's pretty much done in terms of the albedo, I think, unless I decide to make any like last changes and stuff. But I think I'm pretty happy with that. So once we get the post finished, which I probably will export out a pose here in this stream, and we can get in here and start like kind of iterating based on that. But tomorrow we'll start working on the roughness map for this. So that's kind of what's on the schedule right now. So yeah, this is what it looks like based off of the changes that I did this weekend. So you can see what the albedo looks like. There's some like interesting skin breakup that I wanted to get in there, some like weird kind of shapes and things. It's not the best texturing I've ever done, but overall I think I've noodled on it enough to like be at a point where I feel like I'm okay moving forward, and that's kind of where it's going to be in regards to the final look of this. Hey, just wanted to say I did your method of color painting in Substance, and it helped me so much on a project. Yeah, glad to hear, Indie Respawn. Jennifer, hi, are you streaming every day at 8? No. So I am streaming Tuesday through Thursday is my schedule right now. Tuesday through Thursday at 8 o'clock. That may change here in the future, just depending on, what comes up and what I have going on and stuff like that. But yeah, that's what my schedule looks like right now. So, okay. Let's blur this some more. I'll turn this floor off. It's kind of getting in the way. Thank you so much for the streams. Yeah, of course. Glad they are helpful. That is why I like doing them. So bend from here. And so we are going to get some collapse in this elbow, and I think that's just going to be something that I'm going to have to kind of like deal with. Let's do a little bit of a rotation like that. Okay. So now we have like a silhouette. We kind of have a little bit of like a C curve going on. I originally wanted more of like the C curve to be sort of like this, but this is okay. I'm not too mad at it, which we also can pose from this. I'll probably bring this arm up a little bit. I probably won't pose from that direction, more so this, because then I can get the silhouette break like this. Maybe bring it up just a tad bit more because I want to capture that silhouette of the back of the head as well. Let's see. Hey Jared, hope one day to see you sculpt or creating CG eyes on stream. So eyes, I've gotten this request before. Eyes, unfortunately, is something that I'm probably not going to work on stream. And the reason for that is because I made a tutorial a couple of years ago that's available up on my stores. So if you're interested in checking out the process for that, that's where that's at. The only reason I won't do it on stream is because I feel like it's a little bit unfair to the people that purchased that already. So I would be giving away essentially what they purchased for free, and I don't really feel super great about doing that. So I am keeping that one of those things that if you want to watch, unfortunately, I'm gonna leave it under the store right now. Let's move this up just to 10. And so, okay, so that's looking good. I need to make some changes to this head position though. This, I was originally brought up this idea of like doing the pose and stuff by one of my coworkers, Jason Hill, and he actually brought up an interesting idea, which if I was smarter at rigging, I think I would do this. So maybe this is something that I could like do in the side. But getting this a rig, and then like if you look at Simon Lee's work, he has a lot of really cool xenomorph poses that he does, and he has like one scene where it's like a ton of them in like a little like square footage area, and he was like, yeah, it'd be cool, you just like bust out a bunch of different poses and then you could just like create an array of them and do some cool renders with that. And I was like, oh, that would be a really cool idea. Whereas like posing each individual one like this is probably not the most optimal way of going about doing this, but it is what it is. Okay, so let's do this. Okay. Rotate this way. Yeah, these feet, I just cannot get these feet looking, they're like all propped up off the ground. And to see if I can find a little bit better result, let's add in a plane. Okay, plane, rotate, bring it down here. Wait, where the heck did it go? Oh, that's why. Okay. Lock that. Bring this down here. Okay. That will help guide this process a little bit more. Bring those bad boys up just a touch. Sorry, I like got sidetracked for a second and was just working. Essentially the app gives you a bipedal rig with the skin weights painted that works pretty well as a base. You might need to fix some P at the end, but crazy. Okay, cool. Yeah, I may have to check it out, see if I can, get something usable out of it. Thank you for your portfolio overviews. I've got the invitation to interview for a senior 3D artist position in a bigger company following your advice. Do you have any advice for the interview? Yeah, so if you're, I don't know if I'm really even supposed to talk about the interview stuff, but no one's ever told me you're not allowed to talk about it. During interviews, the way that it's structured, for the game industry is you will have your first interview, which will probably be a phone screening, which is you're going to probably just talk to the recruiter. And during that interview, they'll like ask you, oh, what tools do you use? Like, I liked this piece. How did you go about making it? So on and so forth. They'll kind of just grill you on your overall work and things like that. They'll ask you about your experiences, where you worked, just trying to get a feel to make sure that like you're not like BSing your resume and your portfolio. Because there are people that'll put stuff on their portfolio that one isn't their work, or two, they are saying that they did something more than they actually did. So they just want to, verify your work essentially. The second part of the interview is usually going to be with like an art director or a lead character artist or someone a little bit higher up. And they're essentially going to be doing the same thing. They're going to be talking to you about your work, but they're going to be asking about your workflow, how you'll how you created a project, different techniques and workflows that you use. And essentially that second interview is kind of trying to make sure that you, again, aren't lying. Also hear kind of your thought process as to working through a character. So that's like the second portion of the interview is talking with them. And then the third portion of the interview, which I think is the hardest portion of the interview, and the reason I think it's the hardest is because the first two interviews are probably like 30 minutes to an hour. The third portion of the interview is usually like probably close to 6 to 8 hours, because you're essentially interviewing with a panel. So you'll interview with character artists, you'll interview with the rigging department, you'll interview with art directors, you'll interview with the production team, you'll interview with tech art, the animation team, you'll interview with a wide number of groups on the team. And the reason for this is they're just trying to get a feel to make sure that you're not weird in a lot of cases. And what I mean by that is, like, at that point, you've proven that you can do the work by your past two interviews. They just want to make sure that you're going to be a good candidate for the team, that you kind of like fit in with the culture, that you're not going to like be hard to work with, essentially. So that's more or less what that second portion of the interview is, or that third portion of the interview is about. Will the textures break after posing? How do you preserve the textures while posing? So this, actually, let's make sure. There's group store. Okay. So I have UVs on this model already, which, unless this posing broke them, which fingers crossed it didn't, they should be fine. So let's go here. We'll turn, actually, let's just do it on the tail, because the tail's a little bit easier to check. UVs, morph, layers, bake, UVs, morph. Let's see. Yeah. Hopefully that doesn't cause issues, because that looks like it may have broken something, which, if that's the case, then we are going to have to not use this, which is unfortunate, but we will figure that out once we get to that point. But yes, the UVs are there. They should be intact. That seam is, I don't know what causes that exactly, but fingers crossed we'll figure out a workaround if that is the case, because we don't want to, I mean, there is a solution to fix this, kind of, but we could run into some issues. So hopefully we don't run into that. Let's see. Just want to ask about, how much does ZBRUSH cost? I don't know how much it costs, Dave. I would just go to their site and look at the price of it. I pay for like a yearly subscription on it. I paid for the full version of it a couple of years ago. And I had that for like 8 years. So I don't really pay attention to the cost of it anymore. When I make textures in Substance Painter and then extract the maps to Marmoset, the colors and the textures are very different. Is there a solution to that, even though I use the same HDR? I mean, no, not necessarily. I would just make sure that your scene is set up the same. That's going to be the biggest thing. If your scene is set up differently in terms of like which type of color space you're using, you're going to get some differentiation between the two. You will get differentiation between the two regardless. That's just what happens because of how Substance Painter renders the textures versus how Marmoset renders the textures. So you just have to kind of note that and constantly be iterating dependent on what's inside of the engine. Do I need to go to art school to be a 3D artist to work in a big studio or companies like Disney? No, you don't need to. Um, you just need to have a good portfolio, and that can get you in to a studio. But you just have to have a really good portfolio is kind of the big thing. And to be good at art or good at 3D, um, there are some things that you have to learn, which I don't necessarily. I have my opinions on university, programs, but I don't think that that necessarily applies to everyone. I also think that there are other options that are good. Like I would recommend CGMA because those are instructors that know what they're talking about. I'd recommend Nomen. I'd recommend Brainstorm. I'd recommend Think Tank. Just some of those different schools. I think that they all know what they're talking about. So, yeah. Okay. Let's see. Um, da 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 da. Yeah, let's fix this head real quick. But yeah, so you don't need to go to school, but I would say it's probably going to take you a lot longer to try and figure it out on your own. And the reason for that is because most people don't know how to study. And especially when it comes to art, there's a lot of resources on YouTube, but majority of the people that are telling you things don't work in the industry, which is the same issue that I have with a lot of universities. Is there are people that don't really know what they're talking about, so they kind of provide a false information, and yeah, so you just have to be careful who you go to, where you go. Um, but like me, just kidding, guys. I don't actually work in a game studio. I just make all this stuff up. No, that's not really the case. I do work in a game studio, but there's even me. There's things that I don't know. Like a viewer to come to me and ask me rigging questions. I don't freaking know. I'm not a rigger, which I think I've made pretty apparent during this stream that I am by no means a rigging artist. So if you had rigging questions, I would not be able to answer them. But yeah, so you really just kind of have to determine who knows what they're talking about and who doesn't. And that I think is kind of a hard thing for a lot of younger artists to discern. Really knowing where you're getting your information from is kind of the biggest thing about watching stuff on YouTube. Oops, that is not what I wanted to happen. Let's move this up here a tad bit. How does that look? Yeah, see, this is the one hard thing about like this, like creature, xenomorphs and stuff, is it's hard to like get a good front facing pose just because like you want to capture the like length of the head, but like I don't know, I might have to do something like this maybe. Because like I don't want to be too like off center. I kind of like this like front facing power leg. I don't know. Let's go back and see. What did I have it at before? Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to transpose this over real quick. Load a T-pose mesh from disk. Wait, what? Did I mess something up? Hopefully I didn't mess something up. Okay, so what we're gonna do, because apparently I really just like butchered something when I was doing this, we're gonna export this out, put it here somewhere. Bake meshes, posed, block out. Okay, and then we're gonna come here. We're going to save this real quick. And hopefully I don't lose all this information, because if we do, then shoot. I don't know. Let's see. Hi Jared, wanted to thank you for your feedback on my model. I made the changes you suggested and it got much better. I promise that for the next portfolio review you make, my model will be in there. Cool. Glad to hear, man. Glad that I could be helpful. Any way that I can help, I try to. Thank you for sharing your knowledge here. I was wondering if you had any experience and tips with dealing with self-doubt and rejection. Yeah, self-doubt, it sucks. It doesn't go away. So you kind of just have to learn to recognize the fact that it's going to be there regardless of what you're making. I have self-doubt all the time. Especially with this project. There's a ton of things that, like, when I've been working on stream, I've been like, man, this piece sucks. Especially like the texturing phase of it, because I didn't really have a clear vision as to what I was going to make. So there was a lot of doubt in terms of like, does this look good? Does this look how I want it to? And as much as it like doesn't really sound like a good way of going about it, I kind of just brute force through it until I get to something that I like. And even then, I still don't necessarily like it. Like for this piece, there's aspects of it that I like, but as it sits right now, I'm not a huge fan of it. There's a lot of things that, like the texturing, it didn't necessarily pan out the way that I wanted it to, which is unfortunate, but it does happen. But you just have to learn to, for this project specifically, I'm going to just finish it and then I'm going to move on and I'm not going to really think much more about it. So, although, yeah, I'm very doubtful of what it looks like and what the final product is going to look like, I ultimately am just like, okay, so be it. That's just kind of what happens, that's just part of the process. And I just kind of move forward from it, and I learn to say, okay, well, what did I learn from that project? What can I potentially grow on the next one? So yeah, self-doubt happens all the time. Don't get discouraged by it. It happens to professionals. I deal with imposter syndrome all the time. The fact that there's 33 people in here watching me ramble and I'm like, do I actually really know what I'm talking about? Sometimes, yeah, but there's some other times that I really don't think that I do. And crap, I hope that did not mess this up, because that may have just messed this up. Please select it. Okay, so okay. So that is where I messed up. Okay. Shoot. Okay, so let's export this out again. Yeah, I may have really screwed this up for a sec, guys. Which unfortunately this stuff does happen, which if that's the case, then, we just have to figure out how to deal with it. Neomorph Posed block out. Export it out as an OBJ. And then let's come here. Import OBJ pose block out. Okay, so that did offset things. We'll see if what that does. If it offsets it, shoot, I don't really care all that much if it offsets it. I'm fine with it offsetting it, but okay, so it did offset it, which is not what we ultimately wanted. But I can deal with it. It's not the end of the world, I don't think. But to be safe, we're going to save this as another version, and then that other version will be kind of my clean version. So what we're going to do now is just to kind of see how things are looking, we're going to import this into Unreal, get an idea of, what it looks like in the context of the engine. What's the most common softwares used in the industry that will actually could attract recruiters? Because I think software like Blender isn't useful, and I feel like wasted time learning. A recruiter doesn't give a crap what software you use. So that mentality, don't worry about it. Make good art. If you make good art, you'll get a job. If you use Maya but your art still sucks, it doesn't matter. So yes, software does play a factor, so don't take that as like the end all be all, like, oh, I can make whatever and I don't have to learn any other software. No, that's not the case. But if you know how to, like, I know people in studios that use Blender for characters. Not really, I don't know anyone that uses Blender for characters, but I know people that use it for like weapons and props and things like that. It's pretty commonly used. Okay, so let's set this to subdivision 3. And we'll leave that at 1. And then we'll come to FBX exporter, visible. Okay. Yeah, so that's really all I would say is the most common softwares that I know that are used for characters are Maya, ZBrush, Substance Painter, I use Marmoset. I know a bunch of people that use Marmoset for baking their textures. You can do it inside Painter. I know plenty of people that do it inside Painter. You can understanding Unreal is a plus. You don't have to absolutely have an understanding of Unreal, but the more that you can say that I understand how to use the final tools that you're going to be using in a pipeline, the better. But if you make good art, that is what's going to get you a job, not whether you know Maya or whether you know Blender or whatever. Because at the end of the day, if your art sucks, then your art sucks, and that may sound a little harsh, but that is the reality of the game industry. If you don't have good art, or this industry in general, films, games, if you don't have good art, you will have a hard time finding a job. Okay, neomorph posed. So yeah, unfortunately, this did like throw off the location of the model, which again, like I said, isn't the end all be all, but really the big thing that I think we have to be concerned about is the fact that the UVs are going to be broken, which I'm hoping that I can fix that. And if I can't, then shoot, all of this was for nothing. But that is, oops, that's not the one that I wanted. Import. Posed. Import all. Is it normal to have artwork in a portfolio for some courses? Do recruiters look at it negatively? I think it depends what it is. If you are, you are essentially taking a course that is a widely popular course that 100 recruiters see, it might callous them a little bit. They might not necessarily be the biggest fan of it. But like, for example, I'll show something in my portfolio. Let's see. In my portfolio, this was from a class that I did with Clinton Crumpler, and I've had it in my portfolio for years. So no, not necessarily, but it depends what it is. If you're like, if I was to provide like this head model, for example, for people to texture. And if, you know, I'm teaching a class, I'm like, here, texture this. Would I view it negatively as a recruiter? I don't necessarily know. It depends on how many times I've seen it. You know, if I've seen the same head 5 times, it's like, okay, well, I've seen this, you know, it's something that I've seen before. Whereas like this environment, you know, someone may have seen it, but I created it from scratch. So in those cases, I think that you're fine if you do something entirely from scratch. But if you're taking something from like a specific point in time, I think it's fine, but just note it. And I don't know. I guess I kind of have a little bit of mixed feelings about it. I didn't necessarily do it. The only reason that I did this one was because I liked it. I liked the way it turned out, and I made it from scratch. So if you're making it from scratch, I think that, yeah, you're probably fine. I don't know what the heck this is doing. Delete that. Let's import that, and that is really, really tiny. Did I scale these guys up? I did not, but that is my fault. So let's scale this bad boy up. So yeah, it did throw off like the axis of this character, but again, it's not the end all be all, especially because like I'm not too worried about the positioning of it. But we just want to get it back into place. Now he's a giant, which is not what we want. I feel like there's a way to change your pivot inside of Unreal, but I don't remember what it is. So that's unfortunate. Let's get it right there. So now it's in the light. We'll move this bad boy out of the way. Oops. Okay, one sec. My phone is going off, and I don't know why. Okay, cool. So, overall, pose doesn't look terrible. But let's get the actual material on it. This one and this one. Okay, so it looks like it's not broken, which is good. That's what I want to see. That is what we want, ladies and gentlemen. We want to see things that are not broken. Obviously, the pivot point is jacked up, but I'm not too concerned about that. So what I'm going to do is pose it kind of to the camera, or at least somewhat kind of how I want to. Let's change this. Okay, and let's get our camera. We're going to duplicate this. Okay, hit G, where is my camera? Duplicate this bad boy, and then we're going to pilot it in and figure out what it looks like. Ooh, look at all that depth of field. Let's change this to 70 millimeter. Okay, so right off the bat, not a huge fan of the head. Let's do 50 millimeter. Yeah, so the head does not look good from this angle. So that's something that we're gonna have to work on, because like I'm kind of losing this whole face area over here with the shoulder, which, like I said, is definitely not something that we want. But if I move it over here a little bit more, yeah. Okay, so I have something to work on with like the posing of the head and the face and stuff. If I was to keep it like over here, that's fine, but I still feel like I kind of like lose a lot of the shapes that I want to capture. Let's see. I mean, I guess I could do this. This isn't terrible. I would probably have to like iron out the tail a little bit, but it doesn't look the worst. Sorry guys, give me one quick sec. I need to turn off the heater in my house. Okay, sorry, did I miss anything? Is it normal to have, okay, I saw that one. Maybe there's an issue in ZBrush scale while you were exporting. Yeah, ZBrush occasionally does some weird things like that. And I get annoyed when it does that, but I'm not the best at having a good solution for it. So let's get rid of these, turn these bad boys off because I don't want to be distracted by them. See, and this is a good example as to why you check your work inside of your final output, because I don't really like how this looks versus like this looked okay to me. Which, let's see, what is the focal length on this? 50? Yeah, see, I'm using, what am I using? I think I'm using I'm using a 50, and mine does not look like that. I mean, I guess it kind of does. Let me try changing it to 35 millimeter. This might be a little bit more interesting. Yeah, there's a lot more like pushed perspective on it. So I'll probably do something similar to this, but I still feel like it's kind of like off balance. So, there's a nice little silhouette break right there. I'm getting the back of the head. Can see the hand. I probably need to bring this arm up just a touch. Can see this whole hand, but this arm like looks all rinky dinky. It like looks all like foreshortened, and I'm not a fan of that. So, yeah. See, so this is why you test your stuff inside of the engine, because now it like looks all stubby. Like, look how small this arm looks, and like this arm looks small, and like the legs look pretty long. It just looks really bad. So. Yeah, this is unfortunate. The issue with working inside of ZBrush is the camera freaking sucks. I'm not a fan of the perspective inside of ZBrush, as you could probably tell. See, and so this is what like the next probably like 15 minutes of the stream is going to be, is like figuring out a good camera positioning to see like what I like, what looks good, what doesn't look good. Because like right now, this looks like booty cheeks to me. I'm not a fan of it. So we will continue to kind of just try and refine a little bit more. Let's see. Okay, if I strengthen this leg a little bit more. Yeah, see, and like this head, it's like it like looks like an oval. It's like a big old jelly bean on it. So maybe if anything, I can like turn the head cocking the other direction, and that might like help it. But yeah, this arm is like really foreshortened looking, so I definitely got to fix that. This one doesn't feel too bad. What about if I change the focal length back to something a little bit higher? Let me see how much that makes an impact. 80. So I might end up keeping like the longer focal length just to flatten the image out just a touch. Let's disable that because that's just getting distracting. I mean, I could do something like this. and then bringing that front arm forward a little bit more, but I would have to straighten out the head because it feels like he's like looking down right here, so that's not what I want either. This, I lose a lot of that. Okay, so yeah, we'll just keep kind of chugging along on this. Okay, this is the one that we're working on. Turn focal length. Let's do draw. We'll do 80 millimeter. Okay, so things are going well. Getting it into engine. Now we just got to kind of continue to fix based on what we see there. Let's fix some of these shapes a little bit. Okay, cool. So I kind of want to do, let's actually zoom this out. Okay, that should hopefully help just a little bit. See, so I want something kind of similar to like this. Still kind of feels a little bit off balance, but not quite as much. I'm gonna bring that leg forward a tad. Let's rotate. Where can I selling like this modules and what is the minimum configuration? Wait, I'm not sure I understand the first question. And what's a minimum configuration for PC to make this? I don't know. I would just go look at the website and look at what the minimum specs are. I don't have that based off of memory. I would just go to their site and see what the minimum specs are to run ZBrush and look at the minimum specs for Unreal and see what you need to run it. And then I would make a computer based off of that. Let's get this back leg tucked back a little bit more. And let's actually sprawl it out a tad. Make this base feel a little bit stronger. That feels a little bit stronger. Next, let's fix the foot again. Actually, I'm not too worried about the foot. I can just fix the foot up in this scene. But let's page back and forth. Okay, that feels a lot better, a lot more grounded. I do need to bring this arm. I need to do something with this back arm, because right now the angle that it's at, it definitely feels really foreshortened, and that is not what I want. I want this dude to feel long and gangly. So let's see if we can reiterate some of that. Da, 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 da. Okay, let's do this, and we're going to mask this section. Okay, cool. So you'll notice one thing right now, like the reason that I'm working this far back is it just gives me a little bit of a better idea of like seeing it from a distance. I feel like I was kind of a little bit too close into the scene to kind of justify certain moves and really understand the bigger picture. But you can even see just in those couple of small changes is able to actually make a pretty decent impact. I definitely need to do some more work on this tail. Like I'm losing a lot of the shape, but I was able to get a little bit of a stronger silhouette from doing those small couple of adjustments. Let's move the arm out just a touch. Okay, cool. Cameras and ZBrush work with different sensor, whereas UE uses a full frame sensor, which deforms more on the wide side. You might need to use the 120. Even yeah. It's not probably not a bad idea. Let's see. 120. Okay. So bring the arm up just a touch. Rotate this ever so slightly. Move it up just a touch. Yeah, I definitely didn't do myself any favors with like the arms. So what I think I might do is more so try and correct towards this direction, because then I can get like the full length of the arm. I'll bring this one up just a touch, fix the tail, and then I think that'll kind of put us in a good spot. So yes, more or less one thing that you could probably take from this would be a lot easier to do if I had a rig inside of Maya. But I don't, and here we are. So maybe this is my life lesson of I just need to rig. Which for something like this, it probably wouldn't even be too bad, because I'm not like having to worry about like multiple assets deforming. I'm kind of just worrying about the one. But you know, you live and learn, and this has worked okay for me in the past, so I am stuck with it till I decide to finally change. Who knows, maybe this will be the breaking point. But let's be honest, who has time to go and learn rigging? Because I don't. Okay. Okay. So something like that. I probably need to like straighten this foot out a little bit. I'm getting some kind of kinks in there that I don't like. Okay. Um, let's see. Do I? Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to export this out and just save it off again so that we have a starting point, and then let's transpose this over. Okay, cool. Looks like a good density. And then let's export it out. FBX, visible, export, posed. Hi, Jared. Just want to say hi. Really love this scene more. Thanks, Daniel. I appreciate it, man. You learn from your mistakes. This is the way. Yeah, that's for sure. If you guys want to really take something to heart from this whole stream, learn from your mistakes. Fail quickly. That's a really good way to kind of get better at this craft, is by failing fast and failing a lot, because you'll learn a lot and you will grow exponentially. Oh, okay, cool. So yeah, that looks substantially better in my opinion. I do need to fix the tail, but I think, yeah, that looks much better, a lot nicer to what I would expect or kind of want. So let's get a pose kind of like right here, maybe. Something like that. Let's see, how does it look there? Okay. Something a little bit lower. Okay, I think that's okay. We just need to iron out this tail, and then I might do some more polish on it, like bringing this shoulder down a little bit lower, but I mean, it's more interesting than the T-pose. It's not the greatest thing in the world, but it's all right. Did you set this scene up on your own with the backdrop and all? Yeah, I did. It's just a quick like plane that I modeled inside of my yeah, nothing too crazy. You can see it's just like a little backdrop just so I could get in and start testing out the scene. I do plan on releasing a video showing how I set up the scene, just because I am using UDIM, so I wanted to kind of document that process in case I decide to go this route again, which at this point I don't know if I really can find a justification of like going down the path of using UDIMs. So I don't know. I didn't really find much of a benefit to it, unfortunately. Let's see, where is my camera? Ooh, it's a terrible shot. Oh, this one's actually not terrible. It's kind of interesting. A little bit foreboding. Okay, let's see. 120. Oh, and there we go. There we go, guys. That was the bug that we did not want to happen. We'll see. Unreal lately has done a pretty good job of saving this information. I doubt it's going to, but we'll see what happens. Hopefully it can restore some of that stuff. So. Restore selected. Okay. Oh, it did. Sweet. And just look at how much better everything looks with path tracing on. It's just so much nicer. Obviously, this lighting is not doing me many favors, but you know, it's okay. Let's re-import this model because I'm pretty sure that this is the wrong one. Yes, that was wrong. Ah, see, just subtle little small changes, and it looks so much better. Okay, cool. So I think that let's do a quick fix to the tail. We'll try and fix that before we go. I'll drop this shoulder just a tad bit. Gotta make sure I'm working on the right model. So I'm just gonna work on this silhouette a tad. Yeah, I really didn't do myself much justice in like how I posed the character in its A pose, but you know, it's fine. It's you know, you'll learn, and oh well. Okay. Bring this forward just a touch. Bringing that back. Okay, cool. Now let's pose this tail. Let's see, how did it look in here? Yeah, okay, so I need to swing more out this way or either kind of like, huh. Do I want it to like kind of sweep this way? Yeah, I might do that. I don't know. We'll see. Rotate. Do you make custom models? Like custom models, like do I print this stuff? If that's the question, no, I don't. If you mean like did I make this model, then yeah, I made this model. Okay, let's turn this bad boy down. Oops. Let's see. How does that look? It's not terrible. It's kind of an interesting little like shift in what the silhouette looks like, but I don't know. Not sure if that's what I want to keep. Oops, don't want to do that. Oops. Let's do that again. Okay, so this curl is gonna take a little bit longer than I thought it was going to. Right, then let's just nudge this out a little bit more. Like that. Okay, so if we have this now, that'll at least kind of like create a nice line that's going to sort of just keep sending us back through the model. So it might not be the best. We'll see if we're going to keep it, and if not, I might switch it back. Transpose. Let's get this back in the engine real quick, and hopefully we are in a spot that we're happy with. I mean, I think we made progress. I think we kind of got it in a spot that we're okay with. The next thing that I'll probably do is export this over to Maya, get my pivot point recentered and located, and then I'll be good to go on the pose front, and that'll give me a couple of like options that I can pose the character with. Okay. Okay, so let's get to right here. Yeah, I think that looks okay. There's a little bit of like wonkiness here in the tail, but it's all right. Okay, cool. Well, I think I'm gonna go ahead and call it here, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in, hanging out. Hopefully, you guys got something out of it. You know, we definitely made progress on, uh, you know, the overall silhouette and stuff. I think I'll probably I might make some small tweaks and adjustments. I don't know. Who knows? I might just end up going with like the original like T-posed version because it's a little bit more like weird and awkward, and just do a couple of like shots, mostly focused up on here, like on this top half of the body in the actual pose. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But we're getting there. It's almost done. We don't have a ton left, but you know, it was a learning experience, which is kind of what I wanted it to be. I wanted to practice some things and see, you know, how things came across. And is this the best model I've ever made? No, definitely not. But, you know, sometimes they're not, and you just kind of have to power through it till you get to the end. So, again, thank you guys for coming and hanging out. I will be live again tomorrow at probably around 8 o'clock, somewhere around there. So if you're free, want to come hang out, always appreciate the support. And I will see you guys later.